The Terran diplomatic ship Aurora Reach descended through the shimmering atmosphere of the Nabari Empire's capital world, Lythra. Even from orbit, the planet looked like a living gem, white gold clouds drifting above glowing oceans and elegant cities shaped like spiraling shells. Every visiting species called Lythra beautiful, but to Sergeant Malik Rourke, it looked unreal. Almost like a dream someone forgot to wake him from. Malik stood near one of the viewing panels, hands clasped behind his back. He was part of the Terran escort security team sent to accompany the diplomatic delegation. A simple job, he told himself. Walk behind the ambassadors. Stay alert. Make sure nothing strange happened. Terrans rarely visited the Nabari Empire, so today's ceremony was meant to start a new age of trust. At least, that was the hope. Malik was not the strongest or the fastest in his unit. He didn't come from a family of heroes or carry any special implants, but he had one reputation that stuck with him through every deployment. When things went wrong, he always moved first. He never froze. He never waited. He just acted. He didn't think it made him special. He simply thought, if someone needs help, you help. The ship gently docked at the Nabari Royal Station, a floating structure of translucent glass and pale metal that reflected the sun like crystal. The moment the doors opened, a soft, melodic sound flowed in Nabari music, light and airy, like wind dancing through chimes. Stay sharp, whispered Captain Vieira, the head of Terran security. This is friendly territory, but this is still an alien empire. Eyes open. Yes, ma'am, Malik replied. The delegation stepped onto the platform, and Malik followed. Nabari guards in sky-blue armor stood at perfect attention, their faces calm and unreadable. Their armor wasn't designed for battle, it was ceremonial. More like art than equipment, but it still radiated authority. Then came the welcoming committee. A group of Nabari attendants approached, followed by someone who made every Terran pause. Princess Alira. She was young, perhaps equal to a human woman in her early 20s, but her presence felt older, wiser, as if she carried centuries of royal discipline in her posture. Nabari features were famously graceful, and Alira was no exception. Her pale silver skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, and her eyes, bright violet, seemed to glow on their own. A smooth crown circled her forehead. Simple, but elegant. Honored visitors from Terra, Alira said in a soft, melodic voice. Welcome to Lythra. My mother, Empress Nayloria, awaits your arrival at the palace. Until then, I will be your guide. The Terran ambassadors bowed. Malik didn't bow security protocol, but he dipped his head respectfully. When Alira's gaze briefly met his, she offered a small, polite smile before turning to lead the delegation forward. The tour of the capital city was designed to impress. They traveled through floating gardens where flowers released faint, luminescent mist. They crossed bridges that sang gentle tones when touched by footsteps, and above them stretched the grand towers of Lythra, curving upward like elegant ivory horns. Malik scanned everything with trained eyes. Nothing seemed dangerous. Nothing suspicious. The Nabari were peaceful by nature, more focused on arts and science than conflict. Still, he kept his senses alert. Peace ceremonies had a strange habit of going wrong in most galaxies. As the delegation reached the central plaza, a group of Nabari citizens gathered in excitement. They waved glowing ribbons and tossed petals that drifted through the air like tiny stars. Children ran ahead, laughing, trying to get a closer look at the humans. Alira turned to the ambassadors. This plaza honors cross-cultural unity. It was built on the belief that friendship is a bridge, not a bargain. Malik thought her words were nice, maybe a bit poetic, but genuine. She seemed proud of her world. As she spoke, she moved closer to the delegation, her hands gracefully motioning toward a large floating sculpture that rotated slowly above the plaza. It displayed dozens of alien symbols, including Terran sigils added just months ago. Everything was calm, beautiful, peaceful, but Malik's instincts suddenly tightened. A faint humming sound drifted in from above, soft but wrong. Not music, not wind. Something mechanical, something out of place. He lifted his head. A city maintenance drone hovered high near one of the tall buildings. It was a spherical machine used for cleaning and scanning architecture. Normally, they moved slowly and precisely. This one was shaking, like something inside had malfunctioned. "Captain," Malik murmured through his comm. "Look at the drone on the east tower." Captain Vieira glanced upward. "Probably routine." The drone jerked violently. Then it dropped. Not like a falling object, more like a misfired bullet. Straight toward the plaza. Malik's heart slammed once against his ribs. He heard shouts. Nabari citizens scattered in fear. The Terran ambassadors froze. Even the Nabari guards hesitated, unsure of what was happening. But Malik did not think. He did not calculate. He simply moved. Princess Alira was still standing near the Terran delegation, looking up with confusion. She did not yet understand the danger. The drone was already only seconds away, plummeting like a metal comet. Malik sprinted. He crossed the distance in a heartbeat. His boots slammed against the glowing stone tiles as he reached Alira, grabbed her shoulders, and pulled her back. She gasped in surprise. Then, he twisted his body, turning himself into a shield. The drone struck the ground behind them with a loud crack, a burst of sparks, a shower of harmless metal fragments, and a wave of force that knocked Malik forward. He took the full impact across his back, the shock rattling through his bones, but he stayed on his feet, holding Alira firmly until the last of the debris settled. Silence fell. Nabari attendants stared in disbelief. Terran diplomats stood frozen, eyes wide. Even the citizens who had fled now turned back. Whispering in confusion, Alira slowly stepped back from Malik's arms. Her violet eyes were wide, not with fear, but with astonishment. "You shielded me," she whispered. Malik straightened, wincing slightly. "Are you hurt, princess?" "No," she breathed. "No, I'm unharmed. Because of you." Captain Vieira rushed forward. "Sergeant Rourke." "Status." "Bruised," Malik replied simply. "Nothing worse." But Nabari healers were already approaching, scanning him with soft, glowing instruments. One healer gasped. "Incredible," he murmured. "A direct impact like that should have caused severe internal shock. Humans are sturdier than I believed." Alira looked at Malik with a strange mixture of gratitude and wonder. "You did not hesitate. Not even for a moment." "It's my job," Malik said quietly. "And besides, you're a person. People help people." Before Alira could respond, a sudden gust of warm wind swept across the plaza, followed by a ripple of energy. Every Nabari present straightened immediately. The Empress had arrived. Empress Nayloria descended from a hovering platform, surrounded by her royal guard. Her presence was overwhelming. She wore a flowing mantle of living light that shifted color with her movements, and her expression carried the weight of decades of leadership. When she stepped onto the plaza, the very air seemed to hold its breath. Her gaze fell first on her daughter, scanning her quickly for injury. Then her eyes turned to Malik. The crowd remained silent as the Empress approached him. She stopped only a step away, looking directly into his eyes. "Human," she said, her voice calm yet powerful. "You placed your body between my daughter and harm." "Yes, Your Majesty," Malik replied, standing straight. "You acted without expectation of reward?" "Yes." "And without hesitation?" "Yes." The Empress studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly, a gesture that carried the weight of something ceremonial, something ancient. "In the Nabari Empire," she said, loud enough for all to hear, "one who shields royal blood with their own becomes bound to that life. Not as a servant, not as a soldier, but as something far greater." Malik swallowed. Alira's eyes widened. The entire plaza buzzed with anticipation. The Empress raised her hand. "From this moment," she declared, "Sergeant Malik Rourke, of Terra, is commanded to stay by Princess Alira's side. Not for a day, not for a visit, but until fate itself releases him." Gasps echoed through the city. Malik felt his breath catch. Alira whispered, barely audible, "Mother, what are you doing?" But the Empress had spoken, and nothing would ever be the same again. The plaza remained silent, long after Empress Nayloria spoke her command. It felt as if the world itself had paused to understand the meaning of her words. The wind was gentle, the sunlight steady, but every person, even those watching from the far balconies, stood absolutely still. Sergeant Malik Rourke, who had never imagined himself standing in front of an alien ruler, could only breathe slowly as the Empress's declaration echoed through the plaza. He is commanded to stay. Malik wasn't a man who feared much. But this wasn't fear, this was confusion so heavy that he wasn't sure what he was allowed to say. He glanced at Princess Alira, hoping she had some explanation in her eyes. Instead, she looked just as stunned as he felt. Captain Vieira finally stepped forward. Your Majesty, with respect, Terran protocol does not allow our personnel to be permanently. The Empress raised a hand. A simple gesture. Quiet, but absolute. Terran Captain, she said calmly. My daughter lives because of this human's action. Let us not cheapen such a moment with arguments. Captain Vieira closed her mouth, though frustration flickered in her expression. 2 Nabari royal guards stepped near Malik not to threaten him, but to guide him, and the Empress turned to her daughter. Alira, she said softly, you will return to the palace, and your protector will go with you. Alira's brows drew together in worry. Mother, this is too sudden. He did not ask for such responsibility. I did not ask danger to fall on your head, the Empress replied, voice gentle but firm. Yet it did. And this one stopped it. It was difficult to argue with logic spoken in such a calm tone. Alira turned to Malik. We can discuss this later, she whispered. Do not worry. Easy for her to say, Malik thought. She lived in this world. He was barely a visitor. Still, he nodded. Understood, Princess. The Empress gestured to her escort. Prepare transport. The Nabari attendants moved immediately, arranging a small but elegant hover carriage shaped like a silver leaf. The royal guards formed a protective formation around it. Malik felt every eye in the plaza on him as he followed Alira into the carriage. The Terran ambassadors watched with a mix of concern and helplessness. Captain Vieira mouthed something to him, probably stay calm. The royal carriage lifted gently into the air, gliding across the city toward the palace. Malik sat opposite the princess in the quiet interior, trying to process everything. Alira watched him for a moment, her expression thoughtful. You are uncomfortable. Yes, Malik admitted. I mean, I didn't think saving someone would turn into this. You saved more than someone. You saved the heir to the Nabari throne. I didn't save you because you're royalty, Malik said quietly. I saved you because you were in danger. Alira's lips curved into a small smile. Humans truly act differently than most species. He shrugged. We just try to do the right thing. Her smile faded, replaced by a more serious expression. I will speak to my mother. She respects courage, even when it goes against her wishes. I believe she will listen. Malik hoped she was right. The carriage glided over the shining canals, the floating gardens, and the crystal towers, until finally the royal palace appeared in the distance, like a mountain of silver glass. It rose in elegant curves, as if carved from moonlight. Malik had seen many alien structures, but nothing quite like this. As they landed on the palace's upper platform, the Empress's voice echoed in his mind. He is commanded to stay. A command from a ruler wasn't a suggestion. The carriage doors opened, and 2 attendants stepped forward. Princess Alira, your mother awaits you in the solarium chamber. Alira nodded. Thank you, Sergeant. Stay close. Malik followed her through a long hall filled with shifting murals that told stories through light. He would have admired them more if he wasn't trying to figure out how to survive the next hour. They entered the solarium chamber, a wide, circular room filled with plants that glowed softly, supported by floating beams of warm sunlight. The Empress stood at the center, her mantle of living light resting around her shoulders. She turned as they entered, her gaze calm and unreadable. Alira, human. Alira stepped forward. Mother, may we speak? You may. Alira took a steady breath. I understand your gratitude. And I understand the old vow you invoked. But Malik did not risk himself expecting a binding. He should not be forced to stay here against his will. The Empress looked at her daughter with patience. A vow is not a prison. Then let him choose. Malik was surprised by Alira's tone. She was gentle, but she was not timid. The Empress faced Malik. Human, why did you shield my daughter? Malik hesitated. Because she needed help, that's all. No political motive, no ambition, no, Your Majesty. She studied him for several seconds. Malik didn't glance away. Finally, she spoke. The Nabari Code states that anyone who places themselves before danger to protect a royal must be honored with a place of closeness. Not out of force, but out of respect. You may not know our customs, but they are written into our culture. Alira lifted her chin. Mother, he must have the right to refuse. The Empress breathed slowly, her expression complicated. If he refuses, the political factions will question our family's honor. They will say, I dismissed his sacrifice as trivial. Malik frowned. I didn't ask for anything. That is precisely what makes it meaningful, she replied. Alira stepped between them. Mother, he is human. Their culture is different. They do not expect a lifelong duty for a single heroic act. Perhaps that is why they are still young among the stars, the Empress murmured. But I respect your words. Then she faced Malik again. You will not be forced, she said. But until a decision is made, you must remain within the palace, close to my daughter, not as a prisoner, but as an honored guest and as temporary guardian until the council meets. That seemed mostly reasonable. Better than the earlier command. At least, Alira sighed with relief. Thank you, Mother. The Empress nodded. A chamber will be prepared for the human. Let him rest for now. Malik bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. As he and Alira left the chamber, she whispered, This could have been much worse. I'm glad she agreed. Malik nodded. I appreciate your help. Alira smiled. Come, I'll show you the palace. They walked through bright halls filled with floating lanterns, each glowing like tiny stars. The palace felt peaceful, not intimidating. Not rigid, but alive. Nabari architecture made everything seem soft, curved, and warm. Even the guards greeted Malik with respectful nods. Your people are very polite, he remarked. They value harmony, Alira replied. But they also watch everything closely. Malik smiled slightly. That part I noticed. She led him to a guest chamber. The room was spacious, with a window overlooking the glowing garden domes. The bed seemed too soft to be real. A small table even held fruit that shimmered like liquid pearls. Malik sat down slowly. This is a lot. Alira stood by the door, her expression gentle. I am sorry, Malik. I did not expect my mother to bind you with an old custom. She is protective. Sometimes overly so. Most mothers are, he said. She smiled. Rest for now. Tomorrow, we will speak with the council, and I will make sure they hear your side. As she left, Malik lay back on the soft bed and stared at the ceiling, trying to breathe. He had saved someone. That was all. Now he was living inside an alien palace, bound by ancient laws, watched by royal guards, and expected to discuss politics he barely understood. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would be even stranger, and his life was no longer just his own. Morning in the Nabari Palace was unlike anything Malik had ever experienced. Soft, golden light drifted across the ceiling of his chamber, as if the room itself was breathing. The air smelled faintly sweet, like warm fruit, and soft music hummed from somewhere unseen. It was too peaceful for someone who had spent most of his life waking up inside military barracks. Malik sat up slowly, adjusting to the strange comfort of his surroundings. He wasn't used to silk-like sheets or floating lamps that adjusted brightness automatically when he moved. Everything in the palace felt alive, responsive, almost thoughtful. A soft chime sounded at his door. Enter, Malik called. The door slid open to reveal a Nabari attendant holding a tray of breakfast. The food looked like shimmering fruit slices and little pastries shaped like stars. Good morning, honored guest, the attendant said with a gentle bow. Princess Alira requests your company in the Sky Conservatory when you are ready. Malik thanked him, dressed in his Terran uniform, and followed a palace guide through twisting hallways and floating platforms. The palace was a maze of beauty, each corridor curved like flowing water, each wall decorated with symbols that shifted when touched by sunlight. Eventually, he reached the Sky Conservatory. It was a large, open room with transparent walls and a ceiling that displayed the sky like a giant crystal lens. Plants of all colors grew in floating beds, drifting slowly around the chamber as if carried by invisible currents. Alira stood near the center, gently touching a glowing blue blossom. She turned at the sound of Malik's footsteps. "Good morning, Sergeant." "Morning, Princess." She smiled faintly. "You look less tense than yesterday." "Only a little," Malik admitted. "Then we are making progress." She gestured for him to walk with her among the floating gardens. Malik followed her along a narrow bridge that shimmered under their feet. The conservatory felt calming, as if designed to soothe anyone who stepped inside. "We have a meeting today with the council," Alira said. "They will want to understand your actions, your intentions, and whether you wish to remain in our empire." Malik nodded slowly. "Your people ask a lot of questions. We ask when something matters," she replied gently. "And you matter now, Malik." He didn't know how to answer that, so he simply listened as Alira continued. "The council is divided. Some believe Mother's vow should stand. Others believe you should be allowed to leave. And some," her voice softened, "believe a human guarding royalty is too unconventional." Malik raised a brow. "Unconventional is kind of our specialty." Alira laughed softly. "I have noticed." They walked a little further until they reached a floating platform overlooking the city below. Lythra shined with its clean canals, glowing walkways, and curved silver structures. Malik leaned on the railing, taking it all in. "Your world is beautiful," he said. "And yours?" Alira asked. "Not as shiny," he admitted, "but full of heart." Alira studied him curiously. "Your people are different, Malik. You run toward danger without hesitation. You adapt quickly. You speak directly. You do not hide your emotions." Malik shrugged. "We aren't perfect, but we try." "Exactly," Alira said softly. "Your effort is what makes you strong. In Nabari culture, we are taught to avoid conflict, to prevent harm at all costs. But when the drone malfunctioned, we froze. You froze because it didn't look dangerous at first, and because nobody expects danger during a peaceful ceremony." Alira lowered her gaze. "But you did." "I got a feeling," Malik said honestly. "Humans trust their instincts." She smiled. "That instinct may be the very thing our empire needs." Before Malik could respond, the sound of ringing chimes filled the chamber. Alira sighed. "That is the council's call. We must go." The council chamber. The council chamber was located deep within the palace, in a circular room with a domed roof made from translucent crystal. When Malik entered, the chamber glowed with soft blue light. 15 council members sat in curved seats around the center platform. Empress Nayloria stood near the center, wearing her mantle of shifting light. Malik walked beside Alira until they reached the center of the circle. The council elders watched Malik closely, some curious, some uncertain, some skeptical. Their silver skin shimmered faintly, and their robes were decorated with symbols of wisdom and peace. Counselor Lyra, an older Nabari with deep violet eyes, spoke first. "Human Malik Rourke, you protected the heir to our empire. The Empress has invoked an ancient vow. But we must understand you before we decide how this vow is to be honored. Do you accept this?" "I do," Malik said calmly. Another counselor leaned forward. "Why did you act without hesitation?" "Because there wasn't time to think," Malik replied. "And because she needed help." Several counselors exchanged surprised glances. Counselor Vine asked, "Would you have done the same for anyone, even if they were not royalty?" "Yes," Malik answered. There was a ripple of soft murmurs. Empress Nayloria lifted her chin, satisfied. Counselor Jorel, known for being strict, crossed his arms. "Humans are emotional beings, quick to act, quick to speak, quick to interfere. How can we trust that your presence here will not disrupt our harmony?" Malik kept his voice steady. "I'm not here to disrupt anything. I'm here because I acted when someone was in danger. I don't want power. I don't want status. I just want to do the right thing. Alira stepped forward. The right thing is exactly what our empire needs, Counselor. Jorel frowned but said nothing more. Counselor Lyra smiled kindly. What do you wish, Malik? Do you want to remain as the princess's guardian? Or do you want to return to your people? Khan. Malik hesitated. The entire room held its breath. He thought of Terra, its busy streets, loud markets, imperfect cities, and warm-hearted people. He thought of his team, his duties, the life he knew. But then he looked at Alira. He saw her strength, kindness, and genuine curiosity about humanity. He saw a world that needed someone who acted not out of tradition, but out of heart. And he remembered the Empress's words. Not as a servant, as something far greater. I'm not sure yet, Malik admitted honestly. I have to understand what staying means, what I'm responsible for, what changes it brings. I won't make a choice blindly. The council seemed impressed by his honesty. Very well, Counselor Lyra said gently. Then let us observe you. Let the Empire see what a human guardian brings. Alira's eyes brightened. I will guide him. Jorel muttered something under his breath, but the Empress raised her hand. Then it is decided. For now, Malik Rourke will remain at the princess's side as temporary guardian. He shall be given access to our palace, our resources, and our knowledge. He is to be treated with respect. The chamber glowed brighter, signaling the end of the session. As Malik and Alira exited, she looked at him with relief. You did well. I just told the truth, Malik said. That is exactly what the council needed. The growing respect. Over the next days, Malik became more than a guest. He became a presence the palace couldn't ignore. He gave suggestions to palace guards about strengthening sensor pathways. He helped reorganize training programs so guards could react faster in emergencies. He even fixed a broken terminal by instinctively checking its alignment. A Nabari guard stared at him in awe for an hour afterward. Nabari officials were fascinated. Humans adapt quickly. Humans solve with strange methods. Humans do not wait for permission to help. Some found it admirable. Some found it alarming. But everyone noticed. Alira watched Malik with growing interest. Your people truly are different. You do not obey tradition. You question it. You do not wait for change, you create it. Malik smiled faintly. Sometimes that causes trouble. Sometimes, she agreed softly. That brings hope. The tension builds, but not everyone was pleased. A small political faction, led by Counselor Jorel, began whispering objections. Humans are unpredictable. Humans should not guard royalty. Change threatens stability. These whispers grew louder each day. Malik could feel tension tightening around him like invisible threads. But he stood strong. He wasn't here to impress anyone. He wasn't here for glory. He was here because he had acted on instinct, and that instinct was now reshaping something far bigger than he ever expected. And somewhere deep inside the palace's shimmering halls, the storm was beginning to gather. The palace of Lithora was quiet in the early morning. Soft sunlight filtered through the crystalline windows, turning the floors and walls into prisms of gold and blue. For Malik, this calm felt like a fragile bubble before a storm. He knew the council's decision day was coming, and with it, a choice that could change his life forever. Princess Alira approached him in the Sky Conservatory, carrying a small tray of glowing fruit. She placed it on the railing beside him. Breakfast, she said, offering a faint smile. You need strength for what's ahead. Malik nodded. Thanks. I just hope I make the right choice. You always do what you think is right, she said softly. That's why Mother trusts you, and why the council will listen. Malik glanced at her. But this isn't just about me, is it? It's about how humans fit with your empire. Alira's eyes sparkled. Perhaps. But it's also about showing what humans can do: courage, honesty, quick thinking. That's more than just skill. That's humanity. Her words settled in his mind. For years, humans had been underestimated across the galaxy. Other species saw them as fragile, reckless, and unpredictable. Yet here he was, a single human soldier, holding the attention of an entire empire simply by being true to himself. The council's gathering. The council chamber was full once again. The air buzzed with energy, though it was silent and respectful. Nabari citizens, scholars, and high officials watched as the Empress, the Council, Alira, and Malik took their places. The tension was palpable. Empress Nailoria's mantle of living light shimmered as she addressed the assembly. Today, we honor the human who saved my daughter's life. And today, he will make a choice not by command, but by his own will. All eyes turned to Malik. He felt the weight of thousands of gazes upon him. Yet, he did not waver. Counselor Lyra, the elder known for fairness, spoke. Sergeant Rourke, your actions have shown courage, adaptability, and clarity of purpose. You have not sought reward. You have not demanded recognition. You have acted with humanity. Malik bowed his head slightly. Thank you. I only did what any person should do. Yet, Counselor Jorel interjected, his tone sharp but respectful. Your presence among us challenges our traditions. Some fear human influence may disrupt our society. Others see potential. It is your choice whether to remain or leave. Your decision will shape how our species perceive humans. Malik nodded slowly, absorbing every word. He thought of Terra, his home, the team he had left behind. He thought of every human who had ever risked themselves for others, without expectation of reward. And he thought of Alira, standing beside him, trusting him in ways he had never known. Reflection. Before the decision. After the opening statements, Malik was escorted to a small balcony overlooking the city. Alira followed. I've never asked you this, she said softly. But, do you want to stay? Malik took a deep breath. I'm not sure yet. Part of me wants to return home. I have responsibilities. People who depend on me. A world that needs me. Alira nodded. I understand. But another part of you sees what could be done here. You've already made a difference. Even in a few days, you've shown my people that humans can lead, protect, and inspire without asking for reward. He looked down at the sparkling canals below, at the gardens floating in the air, at the towers that curved like silver ribbons into the sky. Lithera was beautiful. Its people were intelligent, curious, and open to learning. And somewhere in that mixture of culture, responsibility, and trust, he felt at home. Malik exhaled. I don't want to be here just because I'm commanded. I want to stay because I can make a difference. Alira's smile widened. Then stay. That is all I hope for. The choice announced. Back in the chamber, the Empress raised her hand for silence. Sergeant Rourke, she said, her voice calm and commanding. You have reflected on your path. Speak now. Malik stepped forward. Your Majesty, counselors, citizens of Lythra, I choose to stay. Not because I am forced, not because of a vow, but because I see the opportunity to help, to learn, and to build a bond between our people that can last for generations. A soft murmur of approval ran through the chamber. Some counselors bowed their heads in respect. Even Counselor Jorel remained silent, though the tension in his shoulders eased. Empress Nyloria regarded him carefully, then nodded. Then, it is done. Sergeant Malik Rourke shall remain as trusted advisor, protector, and friend to the princess. And through him, humanity will be honored in the Nabari Empire. Malik felt a warmth spread through him, not from pride, but from the quiet knowledge that he had made the choice freely. A new beginning. After the ceremony, Alira and Malik walked through the palace gardens. Floating flowers drifted around them. The sunlight created patterns on the silver pathways. You did it, Alira said. You chose. Malik smiled. It wasn't an easy choice. But it feels right. She studied him for a moment. You've shown my people that humans are capable of more than they imagined. That courage, empathy, and quick thinking are strengths no empire can ignore. Malik chuckled. I just did what I thought was right. I didn't expect an empire to notice. Alira laughed softly. You underestimate yourself. Humans have a way of inspiring more than they know. Over the next few days, Malik's role became clear. He did not command, he did not order, and he did not enforce. He observed, advised, and acted when needed. Slowly, the palace staff and the guards adapted to his presence, learning from his instincts and perspective. Some counselors still whispered doubts. Some citizens still stared. But Malik did not mind. He had already shown the galaxy what humanity could do. One act of courage, one instinctive choice, could ripple across worlds. Recognition beyond words. Weeks passed, and Malik found himself walking alongside Alira through the palace's floating halls, helping organize security protocols, improving emergency responses, and introducing simple methods to solve complex problems. Each time, he noticed the subtle changes in how the Nabari thought. Quicker decisions, willingness to act without endless debate, and growing confidence in facing uncertainty. Alira noticed too. "You've changed more than the palace," she said one afternoon. "You've changed me, and others will follow." Malik shook his head. "I didn't set out to change anyone. I just acted. And that," Alira said with a smile, "is the human way. You take responsibility. You face danger. You protect others. You inspire." For the first time, Malik felt that being human wasn't just about survival. It was about growth, courage, and the ability to make choices that matter to more than just oneself. A lasting bond. The Empress called Malik to her chamber one evening. The mantle of light shimmered as she studied him. "You have made a choice," she said softly. "Not forced by duty, but by heart. That choice honors both your people and mine." Malik bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will do my best." "You already have," she replied. "And that is more than enough. Through you, humanity earns a place in our history, a place earned not by weapons or power, but by courage and integrity." He left the chamber with a sense of quiet pride. Not pride for himself, but pride in what humans could accomplish when they stayed true to their values. Later, Alira found him in the gardens. "Do you ever miss home?" she asked. "Sometimes," Malik admitted. "But I know I'm where I'm supposed to be." Alira's eyes softened. "Then stay as long as you wish. We will learn from each other. And perhaps, one day, our people will be closer than ever before." Malik looked around at the glowing flowers, the floating platforms, and the citizens moving gracefully through the palace. He felt a sense of belonging he had never expected. For the first time in his life, he realized that humans did not just survive. They protected, they adapted, and they inspired. And sometimes, that was enough to change the future of an entire civilization. He smiled. "Then let's begin." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the city in golden light. And on Lythera, a human soldier who had acted without hesitation had become a bridge between worlds. A symbol of courage, choice, and humanity itself. In the hearts of the Nabari, one lesson had become clear. Humans are extraordinary not because of power, but because of their ability to choose what is right, even when no one is watching. And Malik, once an ordinary soldier from Terra, had changed everything not with force, but with the human way.